forgot to unmute myself. Classic. Hey everyone. Um, Thank you all for coming. I'm Leah, community manager. So I think most of you have probably seen me already. But if not, I'm kind of newish. I started in February. No, I started in January. Oh my gosh, which is actually like several months ago, and wasn't actually just the other week, which sort of feels like sometimes. And today managed to convince MJ to come on stream. So MJ is actually MJ. Do you want to introduce yourself, or do you want me to like extol?
I I'd like you to extol because I want to see what you say. Because one of the first things you wanted to ask me was why do I have so many titles? So go ahead.
This is true actually. So 1 second. If we go to the to balancingmonkeygames.com and if it loads in a timely fashion and I go and I navigate to About Us, and here's MJ Mariana. Is that I'm pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah,
I should.
Mariana.
Yeah. So many people just like opt for MJ that I'm like, oh yes, one day I'm gonna like
But
forget how to pronounce it.
to be fair, it's because I introduced myself as MJ because I don't like doing the back and forth of like I'm Mariana. What? Mariana. you know.
Nah, you
So
gotta
it's
you
just
gotta
like
educate them, honestly.
yeah, eventually. But first meeting it's just kind of like I'm MJ, Spider Man, basketball, however you want to remember that.
Oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Basketball? Oh, Michael Jordan. True. You
yeah.
kind of you kind of are the Michael Jordan of the team in a lot of ways. Um,
Thank you.
Except probably your baseball career would be a bit more successful. There was a whole thing where he tried to like do baseball for a bit and it wasn't as good and everyone was like, just do basketball, bro. Anyway, sorry. I'm going on a total tangent. What I wanted to point out is, and this was one of the first things I noticed when I first went on the website and before I was hired. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, we've got someone here and their title is programmer, UI, UX, and game designer. So that's what, like 4 disciplines?
Yep. So, why do I have so many titles? So, when BMG initially hired me, they were looking mostly for a programmer, also for design stuff, and I was like, I can do both of those things. And they were like, cool, we'll hire you as a junior programmer then, and we'll start giving you design responsibilities as you know they come up in the project. And I was like, that's fine and cool. So I started mostly doing programming work with Sam's guidance, and then I was like, I think we should do this design thing. I want to make this documentation. I want to start making this spreadsheet. You know, started maintaining the GDD, all that sort of stuff. And then as we got further through the project and we started actually like needing UI, it was like, oh, we don't have a UI person on the team, and UI was handled by a contractor for before we leave. So I was like, cool, I will start, you know, doing some layout stuff for that, which then led into UX things of being like, okay, cool. So if we're going to make this kind of UI, then we need to have considerations of like where it sits on the screen, how large it is, because that's all about user experience. How many button clicks does it take to make certain things happen? Blah 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 blah. And then I use a UX perspective quite a lot just for design work, anyways, because when it comes to like thinking about how the game needs to be designed, a lot of it is how do you want the player to experience a given mechanic or a given moment in the story. So I just ended up being across all of these different areas and doing work on the game in all of these different areas. And I was like, can my titles reflect that, please? And so it does. That's basically it.
Yeah, just everything, basically. Just like a little blanket, like, I'm that person. You kind of, I feel like internally you are sort of that person that people will sort of turn to and be like, what does this thing in the game mean? And you kind of have become someone who has that like knowledge of, yeah, just like everything, like all the in-depth systems and everything and how that's all set up. So that's another good reason why people who are here today, if you want to ask MJ any questions, for her to shoot down and be like, no, I'm not telling you that. Go ahead. Uh, no. I'm sure we'll answer what we can. Um, so you've actually been on stream before.
Mm,
I think the last time was the space whale dating sim
yes.
creation for Pride. So I'm gonna like pop a link in the chat to the stream where that happened a couple
This
years
is
ago,
some
I think.
old lore. Yeah. A couple
Old
of years
law.
ago.
Well, yeah. Well, before before I go any further, like, tell. Do you want to talk more about that?
About the dating sim.
Hmm.
Space Chan. So we wanted to do something that was kind of funny and cute to celebrate Pride Month, which obviously that's all about, love. And so we were like, wouldn't it be funny? Because I think at that point in time there was a big hullabaloo about dating sims for like everything. There was games like Heartful Boyfriend, which is where you're dating a pigeon, and just there was a lot of monster dating sims. There was a Cthulhu dating sim, and so we were like, "Hey, you know how the whale is going to be a key part of BTS? What if I made some key art for a whale dating sim, and Emily like roughed out a narrative plotline? Wouldn't that be cute and fun?" So that's what we ended up doing. And so I drew this really like shiny, cute space whale in with like anime eyes that were all different colors. This fun little splash out background. It's very computer background. I don't think anyone on the team has used it as a computer background yet, which makes me really sad though. Somebody should.
I actually don't even know where I'd find like the high res, full
If you want the
resolution.
original high res, I can send it to you. I still have it.
Yeah, no, please do. Put it on the Google Drive or something on the website. Maybe we'll release that um as part of like our overall campaign, just like downloadable wallpapers.
Yeah, just like the extra bonus downloadable wallpaper
Yeah,
is
yeah.
cute anime
The $5
whale.
DLC.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when can we expect a playable build of the Space Whale dating sim?
I, I I think that depends on how well BTS does.
Ooh.
Don't you think? I feel like because it's like I'm not going to make the finished game, and I'm not going to rope Emily into making the finished game unless I actually think that there's going to be an audience for it. So, oh yeah, Ninja said so. There was a KFC dating simulator. We were literally just talking about this
Yeah,
because Leah didn't know about it. I was like, "Did you know about I Love You, Colonel Sanders, the finger licking good dating simulator?" And she was like, "No."
never before have I ever. No, just never. So, MJ was telling me that not only was this a real thing, like it's official, pretty much, like not merchandise, official. I don't know.
Officially licensed. Yeah.
Yeah, but like a obviously like part of an ad campaign. But like look at the it actually looks really good. Like the animation's super dope.
It's
Um
genuinely well made.
that's so good.
And it did really well. It's got like 12,000 positive reviews on
Oh
Steam.
yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, exactly. So, if
Oh,
BTS can get to 12,000 very positive reviews, I will make the Space Whale Dating Simulator. It's on stream. There's a VOD. You guys can bring it back up as evidence.
yep,
There you
there
go.
you go. We're completely beholden to that now. Um Mama Monkey, our boss, Anna, says that she read the first chapter of the KFC romance.
Oh yeah.
Is this a whole other
There was a
product?
tie-in like smutty romance book.
Ugh. Oh my god, I can only imagine.
I have not read that.
No,
I'm gonna have to ask Ada about. about that if she has.
The Colonel slicked back his greasy hair. Because he's got to be greasy. I don't know. I just associate KFC with grease. KFC was my first job, actually. That's,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know what
my
it's
first
like.
job was a petrol station.
Oh, there you go. It's always like petrol station or fast food.
Hmm.
Mm,
The classics.
yeah.
Always those ones. No, don't ask you, Anna. Okay.
So I'm guessing it was not finger looking good. It was finger looking bad.
Doesn't sound like it.
Mm. But yeah, like what? So when you actually started at Balancing Monkey Games, because this was before my time,
Mm.
what stage of development was the game at? Were you part of the initial like really really early like design of it? Yeah.
Yep. Um, so the the first thing that happened after Balancing Mickey hired me was because I wasn't living in Dunedin, the city where the studio was located at the time. I was living in a different part of New Zealand called Wellington. Um, and so when they hired me, they flew me down to Dunedin and we had a ideating week, which was like Sam gave us the basic pitch for what he wanted Beyond These Stars to be about, and then was just like, hey, everybody, go back wild. Just, expand upon this idea with me. So it was very, very early. Um, there was a initial GDD that was being used to um, talk to publishers at that point, I believe. But that was pretty much all we had. There wasn't prototypes or anything. So yeah, I've been on BTS since the very beginning, and in fact, there was still a little bit of work on Before We Leave happening when I joined, just like the last major update and some bug fixes and things like that. Yeah, so I've been I've been working on this project since the very beginning. My little raccoon paws are all over it.
Yeah, right in there. Were you roped
Yeah.
into doing work on Before We Leave as well, or were you kind of just
I did a very, very small amount on Before We Leave. Like I fixed 2 bugs, something like that. Like,
it counts?
yeah,
Yeah.
barely anything on Before We Leave, in all
Hey, a
honesty.
bug is a bug, and a bug can be a real big deal.
Bugs can be a real big deal, but they were also small bugs. I
No, you
deserve
gotta
no
say like
credit for
no,
anything
like
I
it was
did.
crashing to desktop anytime players opened it, and we were about to tank, and we were getting review bombed, and I came in and I saved the day.
I think at that point, after having just joined the studio, if I had tried to fix something like that, I would have cried and hid under my desk.
That's your like employment test. It's like, all right, if you can fix this for us, you're
No,
hired.
actually, there was a meme that I made in my first week with the company. Here's some bouncing monkey lore for everybody. I make a lot of memes, like internally. Whenever something funny happens, I make a meme about it and just post it. Ooh, yes, the blurred hand behind me. That's Isaac's blurred hand. I tried for the most part to keep him out of the shot, but I'm in the office, so
Why
they
are you keeping Isaac from us?
the the people request Isaac.
That's not
Surprise, it's Chief
Isaac.
Monkey. You don't get Isaac, you get Chief Monkey. Ah,
Whoa, 2 for 1.
little bit of Isaac. Wow, you guys are spoiled today. Um, there was a meme that I made very shortly after joining the company, where I had started, you know, trying to help with fixing a couple of bugs on Before We Leave. And Sam was like, okay, so you need to learn about this particular section of the code base. And he showed me this script, which was 10,000 lines of code. And me, fresh baby, was like, and so I made, that meme of just like the tiny guy with a sword and then like a giant thing that he's going up against, very Souls like. I was just like, me, 10,000 lines of code. And for some reason, that really tickled Sam. He was like, oh, that's exactly the kind of attitude we want from a brand new programmer.
Just complete fear and like
Complete fear, but still like standing up to the challenge. So
oh, that's true, yeah, because it's a bit of like
yeah,
a David and Goliath image, and the
yeah,
vibe is
exactly.
very much okay, but I've got some kind of cool sword, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go back into our Discord history and I'll find the meme and I'll post it in the the public Discord after stream
Mm,
so that people can see what I'm talking about.
yeah.
But yes. So yeah, I've been on BTS since the very, very, very beginning, and I have made many, many memes throughout development.
Yeah. Bo says creating memes to light up the mood is good. This is very, very, very true. Like, sometimes, especially when it's like a really busy week and just like the vibe is very much like, oh God, like, just like, ha 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 ha. We're kind of like, we're doing our best, but also like, oh God, like, please, it hurts. But yeah, then someone will like pop in and like someone will say something that out of context sounds ridiculous or funny, and it'll just be like completely memed on, and everyone sort of joins in, and I don't know, I feel like I don't know, it does like boost morale. Yeah, so there you go. Before you go around kind of invalidating the power of memes, just know that memes may not be required for us to live, but in a way they're what we live for.
Meme is life.
Meme is life.
Ninja says, should head meme creator be? I don't feel like I can take that title because Isaac also makes some absolute bangers, right?
Mm,
Like he's really good at editing in a way that I'm not. So when there's like funny footage from the game, he can make it into just such good things. It genuinely makes me so sad that so much of it we cannot share with the community because it's, in development. We got to keep it a secret at least for a little while longer
yeah.
because they're so funny.
I always love it when he like opens up the Unity editor in like a review and retro session and just like starts messing with sliders, like making all the like that people probably saw the video of him making Kewa talk. That was a
Yeah.
classic.
Yes, exactly. Wish list beyond these stars.
Blah, blah, blah.
That's
Um
great.
oh, I wanted to oh gosh, time is going. My God, this is I wanted to do so much and show so much, but I want to just quickly have a look at really, really old.
Oh my god.
Is this gonna work? Yeah, because I found these
Wow.
the other day. Sarah made a TikTok that was basically like, "Hey, this is where we were at, and this is where we are now." And just seeing like really, really old, like there was some like even older stuff in there, like pure prototype stage where it's just like there are no models and just like cubes.
Yep.
Um, but I think these are from like late 2022, maybe? I'm not sure. Mid?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Mid late 2022, which is funny because I can kind of tell that that's the case, partially because the ground is curving correctly.
Oh, so that wasn't something that you managed to get down pat until
Yeah,
fairly later on.
that
Yeah.
was something. Yeah, because it's complicated maths compared to because with before we leave, same like hex tiles, but it was a sphere.
Mhm.
That was hugely complicated math, but we had already done it for
Mm.
before we leave, right? Whereas figuring out the Pringle shape to go on the whale's back, I call it the Pringle, okay?
It's a
Figuring out
pretty.
the Pringle shape to go on the whale's back was completely different maths because it's a cylinder rather than a sphere.
Mhm.
So we had to figure that out. I say we, Isaac.
Thank you,
Isaac figured
Isaac.
that out. I'm going to credit that man because he deserves it. It was really complicated, and it looks fantastic now.
It really
Um,
does. And like I
we
didn't
yeah
realize
figured that
as
out
well
way
in
later
before
on.
we leave, it's because you can't like hexagons can't be perfectly tessellated into a sphere. I think
Mm,
you need to have a couple like
yeah,
unusual
pentagons.
pentagons, yeah. Same with soccer
Mm.
balls, by the way. If next time you see a soccer ball, take note of the actual shapes, and you'll notice that not all of them are actually hexagons. So,
Typically, the pentagons are the ones that are black on soccer balls.
I didn't know they were the black. Oh, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, so the pentagons were usually hidden in the ocean on before we leave planets.
Mm.
Um, but I I don't think there's pentagons on Cure. No, there isn't pentagons on Cure.
Mm.
But there's still hidden pentagons um, elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just mesmerized by this. Well, it's not actually looping. I keep manually looping it
like
myself.
starting it back
Just
up
like,
again.
yep, keep going. Um, but yeah, so multi-tile bridges were like a big kind of like high
Mm,
point. Um,
yep, because it's you only get one tile in before we leave, and we were pretty much immediately like, yeah, we want to do more than that for this game, and we knew that people when they saw it were going to be like, oh my god, I can make bridges that are more than one tile, amazing.
just a whole new
um,
world of possibilities unlocks.
yeah, exactly. But the pathfinding for making bridges behave correctly, especially like in this screenshot where you have like bridges on top of bridges on top of bridges, um, took months. Honestly, it took a really really long time, and again, that was mostly thanks to Isaac. So everybody say thank you to Isaac for making all of the really hard, important parts of the game,
Thank you,
because they would not
Isaac.
exist without him. Um,
Why three tiles in particular? Is there like a any reason for that number specifically, or?
So it's 4 in the current build of the game, I think,
Oh.
is the maximum that you can go across.
Hmm.
The absolute maximum. At least with the standard bridge that you get at the beginning of the game.
Hmm.
Maybe it'll be more in future when you have better materials. Maybe you'll just have to play the game and, be there for early access and the updates to find out.
Oh my god, this is information I don't even know. Wow.
Maybe.
Okay. And they're just like classically dropping casually, not classically, but also
Oh, that's
classically.
also why people need to show up for the streams, especially the ones that I'm on, because I know about all of these things, because I'm the one who decides whether they're going to happen or not, because I'm the designer.
True, true. Um, and this was, oh my god, though, longer bridges. Okay, I'm just letting that sink in. The sink is coming in officially.
Let that sink in. It's knocking at the door.
Let me in. Um, this is, I'm pretty sure, when water flow finally, yeah. So there's an even earlier version of this, I think, where
Hmm.
it's just basically getting the water working. But I think this is mostly to demonstrate how the atmosphere or like tile rejuvenation works.
Yep.
I'm guessing this also took like 6 months to achieve or however long.
It took a long time. It took a long time. And also, again, this is credit to Isaac.
Oh,
I'm gonna keep saying that because
I
his
was,
wonderful work has done so much for the game.
look, yes, but also because I was going through a lot of these and it's like, okay,
Mm,
like because it's like early programming stuff and like, oh, I accidentally went ahead to the next one. See, like things like this is like a tech arty sort of thing. That's
mm,
what you see on the surface, but I know that there would have been like a lot of design thinking behind that, which you would have
mm.
been responsible for. And also, Isaac isn't the only programmer.
This is true. This is true. Um, yeah, I guess with the water movement thing, um, we were we had decided that we wanted um, caring for the environment to be a pretty central theme in BTS because, I mean, for me personally, it felt kind of obvious that when you can anthropomorphize your environment by making the planet a living creature that you can harm or heal with your actions, that giving that agency to the player kind of underlines the point of like it's our responsibility to care for the environment and to look after it and all that sort of stuff. Um, so once we had decided that the player would have the ability to change the shape of the land, that impact meaning something in terms of like what you do to the environment actually affects it was kind of the next logical step, which then led to like, okay, so moving water around, water being like the source of life and greenery and growth and the things that your peeps need to survive because they got to grow food, all that sort of stuff. And then extending that onto like, okay, so you can control where it's possible for this to happen, but that it affects your environments as well as affecting your peeps. Um, and needing to test whether we could actually get this effect of like environment change looking and feeling good, and particularly just feeling like responsive, like that fade in of the grass when you move the water around. Um, and it's really high contrast of like the bare dark dirt tiles and then the super vibrant green, like this is where life is. And then from like a UX standpoint, it makes it really easy for a player to see like, okay, this really obvious bright green area that's high contrast, so it's still visible with color blindness issues as well.
Mm.
Um, is a place that it is safe for me to put my peeps in terms of they'll be able to grow things, they'll be able to get water if they need it, they'll be able to collect resources like wood because this is where plants grow, things like that. And then where that hasn't happened, you have the opportunity to create it, or that there's further work there in order for it to be a ideal environment for building your city.
Mm. Yeah. No, it is because I know a lot of other games where you're building things, whether it's like a city or like a colony or a base or anything that involves resource management as well. There generally will be a pollution mechanic, but it's always a bit obtuse. And it's like,
Mm,
okay, you can kind of like, there might be some indication of like, um, sorry, I say pollution, but I mean like anything involving like environment and like the
mm,
impact that what you do has on just the broader environment. But I feel like the way it's demonstrated in Beyond These Stars, like yeah, it's super visual. It's really cool. It's something that you kind of don't see in a lot of games of a similar vein.
mm,
Um, and yeah, and of course, like Kewa being, although we did explain in another stream, so like what you build into and everything, that's just debris on Kewa's back, so it's not Kewa proper, but
mm,
um, still like this is an ecosystem that exists on and because of Kewa. And so,
mm.
yeah, having like a living being kind of be the crux of it is, yeah, I think it really like sort of hits the point home, in my opinion, anyway. Um, yeah. Let's see, I think there was another video.
I
Oh,
think one more.
yeah. I I've I kind of actually I don't really have a question per se, like a leading question about this, but I was really drawn to this video because it's like Kewa really feels like, oh, actually this is making me a little bit dizzy. Kewa feels a bit like a ship or something. Like
Right, yeah.
this is the kind of thing that you see in like a lot of similar sort of spacefaring games where it's like, okay, like come within range of a planet. And I thought that was like kind of cool.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know if that's like that was an intended effect or when you were designing the solar systems or making that decision around it or yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, so let's talk about Starfield for a second. Bethesda game Starfield. Um, which when that came out got a lot of criticism for being a game about space that didn't let you be in space, basically. Um, Traveling through space, if you want to do it in a way that's sensible and doesn't take like all the time in the world, basically ended up just being going through menus and quick traveling everywhere. So it's a space game about exploring space where you never get to be in space and see space doing cool space things like, you know, seeing a planet just whoosh past and being able to look at that planet and going, oh my God, I see like the trees and the water and things like that on that planet. And vice versa, like if you're on a planet, being able to look up at Kiwa and like, oh my God, I can see my buildings and bridges and all of my stuff. Like having that actual sense of these things existing, like physically, tactilely. Um, Same with like other stuff in the universe, like watching the sun kind of like actually move past you, like getting that sense of physicality is just I think it would be a massive shame to not let people just go, wow, space in a game that's set in space, right?
Hmm.
Um, and that was one of my biggest takeaways with the feedback that Starfield got when it released. Um, Part of my regular like design work is that I'm constantly reading reviews and I'm on Steam pages for, you know, various games that have recently released or are upcoming and checking player sentiment about them, regardless of whether they're specifically like in the same genre as us. So like games about space, games about resource management, games about city building. Like obviously those ones are much more likely to be relevant for us, so I keep an eye on them. But even games that aren't, because the there's so many useful things that you can take away about how people respond to certain situations, certain mechanics, certain feelings, just from keeping up to date with how, you know, like the latest hit game, people have been reacting to it. Um, so I spend a lot of time just like reading reviews, going through Reddit and seeing people being like, oh yeah, like I loved the fact that in the original Dark Souls game, I didn't have fast travel between bonfires right off the bat. It meant that I had to actually engage with the map, and that sense of a journey is a key part of the game for me. So if I had been given fast travel immediately, then I would never have gotten that sense of mastery that learning the map and being able to travel it efficiently gave me, you know? So, um, yeah, the that vibe of Kiwa being like this actual thing that you're looking off of the surface of to see planets in space. Like, yeah, that was a deliberate choice so that people could go, man, space is cool, because it is. And you
Yeah,
want to let people just kind of sit there and be like, man, space is cool, you know?
that's true. I think we're all avowed space enjoyers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But yeah, no, that feeling definitely comes across like when you're kind of on the back of Kawa and yeah, you can just see like all the planets in the sky and the fact that they move dynamically.
Mm.
Um, actually, now I'm wondering like how would you measure the length of a day on Kawa? Although, yeah, like
That
how does
that was
like
actually an interesting conversation we had to have because we wanted there to be a day-night cycle
Mhm.
when you were on Kiwa because uh, for visual interest and also for a sense of time passing, which are both important aspects of the game, right? Like you need to have the sense of how long things are going on, and you want time to be passing as your city progresses. But there was no reason for there to be a day on Kiwa in terms of like, it, you know, with planets they orbit and they rotate, which then causes a day. But Kiwa's a creature; they don't have to do that. So, in order to make there be a day-night cycle on Kiowa, we would just decided like, hey, like when they're next to a star, they're just going to do a cheeky little barrel roll,
Yeah.
right? They're just going to be rotating like a rotisserie chicken the entire time, just cause.
Kawa rotating slowly in space.
Yeah,
They are
they're just
literally
they're
stewing in their own juices.
yeah, they're literally just making sure that they're evenly heated on all sides. They don't want their tummy to freeze. They don't want their back to freeze. They're just like
Oh,
rotating.
I love that. I love that law. Just like, yeah, get like
Yep.
little even stretch of sun, even tan. That's
Yeah.
my head canon.
Yeah.
Mm,
Exactly. Or just like a cat when they're laying in the sun by the
true.
window, right? Like they bake their tummies, and then as soon as it gets too hot, they turn over onto their backs. You know?
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I reckon probably time to boot up the game.
Yeah. Let's go.
So, MJ, I can't remember if you caught the previous screen. Oh my gosh.
I
Um,
caught a little bit of it, I think, but then I got uh,
busy.
into the woods with
Your job.
working on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last time, hang on, I wrote notes so I could like remember exactly what we did last time because it's the same save file. I played it a little bit just to like
Mm-mm.
advance it, but yeah, we mostly looked at atmosphere, environment, and how those sort of systems work in Beyond
Yep.
These Stars. So like composting, trees, water, how that all comes together. Um, and then also, yeah, byproducts we spoke about because that's something new that's in
Mm,
Beyond These Stars compared to Before We Leave. And we'd just built the dump.
nice.
Um, and even so, in the last 2 weeks, I'm not sure how keen-eyed a lot of people are, but there have been a lot of changes. Like, the UI has received a bit of an upgrade. So these building cards in the action bar, as we call it, completely new. Like, that's just something that we implemented in the last 2 weeks, I think.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, that's looking amazing. Um, you can actually sort of like see, like get this sort of like snapshot in advance.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I'm at the point where I've just built. I'm just gonna like, actually, how should I do this? Because I kind of want to get to the point where we get the landscaper going and we can start doing some more
nice.
terraforming. But I
So
also
you built the dump.
built the dump.
Yeah.
Oh, I built the burner generator. So
Okay, nice.
where's that? I think I chucked it over here. Yeah.
Yep.
Probably a bit too close to the huts, but I was like, eh.
Well, how are your peeps doing? Like, how happy or sad are your peeps at the
Ooh,
moment?
good question. We can actually kind of get a feel for that based on these little barks. So, what a beautiful day. There you go. My peeps are so happy.
This food looks delicious. I'm excited to make dinner.
Oh, we gotta
Your peeps
pause.
are so happy.
Happy whale,
Do we want
happy
to
life.
do we want to have a overview from the island summary?
Yeah. Wait, the item
Location
summary?
summary?
Oh, the
Location
location summary.
summary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is also a new fancy little bit that we've implemented.
Which is looking very lovely. So if you go into the peeps tab, then we can have a look and see how happy everybody is. Oh my god, they're all so happy.
Wait,
Wow.
this person is having a terrible time. We've got some debug text on stream. Live. Normally, if you're playing the game, you probably won't even notice a lot of these things. So they're unhappy. Wait, where? Ah! Show me my peep.
He's at home. He's
Oh,
unhappy at home.
there we go. Wishes they had any other job. Okay, well,
Oh,
you know
buddy.
what? You deserve some time off. Just gonna. Watch him go.
Oh, cute. Have you built little flower meadows and park benches for them to chill at?
Yeah. So there we go.
Aww. Well, that's probably why so many of your peeps are super happy. Because you've built
Yeah,
them nice places to hang out at.
yeah. Well, I actually care for the welfare of my peeps, unlike some people in the community. I'm not gonna name names, but you know. um, let's see. So, okay, we've got the sand mine. So, how do I get? I keep forgetting how to get because it keeps changing, like the shortcuts or whatever. Getting into the resource
Mm-mm.
overlays. Oh, here we go. Yeah, yeah. So sand, I'm pretty sure is a new resource. I'm not sure if that was in. I admittedly haven't played heaps of Before We Leave.
Sand was in Before We Leave as
Okay,
well,
it
and
was.
was used similarly for glass.
Yeah. So we want to build a metal smelter so we can make some glass, so that we can make some.
Make
Oh,
glass and steel.
why was that instant? I must have. No, I shouldn't have cheats on. Oh my god, I do have
Do you
cheats.
have cheats on?
Yes, I forgot.
Exposed.
I didn't. Okay, when I set this up, when I built this, I did not have cheats on. But I was
No,
just trying
I
to
do
get.
believe you because this was your your stream save. But obviously you've been doing some other stuff recently which you needed cheats for.
Not with this save though. I
No.
no, I
So
needed to get some screenshots for Yeah. Anyway,
so if we turn off cheats, exit to menu without saving, then we can be back to where we were.
okay, there we go. Yeah. All right.
Also, hi Mandalore, thank you for stopping into our stream.
Oh hi, hello Mandalore. You can. We've got an actual proper content creator here who's gonna be able to going to judge me and my streaming ability or lack thereof. I'm gonna skip this because spoilers.
Ooh,
Sorry.
ooh.
I'm sorry, Emily. Every time we skip the text and Emily sees, she's just like a part of her dies, and I can feel it. All right,
Just
so
take like one
yeah, those are up.
point of psychic damage
Yeah,
every single time.
yeah. All right.
All
So
right, cool. So
metal smelter.
back to it. Let's build another metal smelter.
Let's speed things up a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how people manage designing their cities around pollution with their peep happiness, because that's something that we've been working on a lot recently. Is peeps just it's really difficult to make peeps finicky enough that you do actually need to look after them, but not so finicky that it feels like you can never make them happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's. I mean, I've admittedly played a fair bit of Beyond These Stars so far, so I've got a bit of a head start. But I mean, normally I'm terrible at managing, like, whenever there's like a happiness mechanic, I'm just
Right.
like, everyone's always suffering, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I actually care about the peeps, and I think like having the peep barks there, it's like actually motivating me to
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to make them give them like a nice little place to exist. But yeah, we've got the metal smelter, so that can be configured to produce steel and glass.
Yep.
I think you can have both going at the same time, which actually maybe you can answer this. How does that work? Is it like does it prioritize one over the other, like it makes steel and then it makes glass, or does it produce a little both at the same time? Okay, one then the other.
It's one than the other. So the choice that you have with multi-process buildings, which the metal smelter is one of them, and there are other ones, is you can either have the building working on just one resource, in which case, so say you only had steel turned on, it would just make steel, make steel, make steel, make steel. Or you can have it producing multiple resources for you. So one building, multiple resources, that's a good deal. However, it'll go steel, glass, steel, glass, steel, glass, which means that it's producing both resources, yes, out of a single building, but effectively it's producing them twice as slow, right? So you can decide whether for you it makes more sense, like, oh, I really need steel right now, but I don't need glass, so I will just run steel.
Mm,
I kind of like a consistent output of both, so I'll have them both running at the same time. I'm not in desperate need of either of them, so it doesn't really matter to me that they're producing quite slowly. Or you're like, no, I need heaps of glass, heaps of steel. I am literally just going to build multiple metal smelters and have one of them produce glass and one of them produce steel.
mm,
Depends on your needs, depends on what your economy needs, depends on how efficient you want to be about stuff. But also, you got to manage the byproduct that comes out of the metal smelter, because if you've got two of them, then you're going to be producing more byproduct. There's a lot of stuff to keep in mind to manage when you're looking after your resource production, which is basically my entire job, is making sure that those choices are interesting without being too difficult.
mm.
So
Yeah, I mean, it feels balanced to me, and I'm actually not trying not to be biased in that assessment, but it really does. I normally, because if I get like all min maxy, I'll be like, yeah, I need like a smelter for each because I need to like boom boom boom. Um, oh, Bowie asks if there will be difficulty settings like before we leave.
there will be, yes. We're not at the stage where we can actually put them in for like managing what makes things more difficult. There's some really obvious ones that will probably let people adjust for difficulty, but we haven't actually put them in yet because we need to kind of get a gauge of how difficult it is already, which we're starting to get from playtesting. And then also see which parts people are actually struggling with the most and going like, okay, cool, is this actually what we want for normal difficulty, or do I need to rebalance to make managing this mechanic or the integration of this mechanic a bit easier on the normal setting? And then yeah, once the normal game experience is what we want it to be, then being like, cool, okay, now you have a setting where you can make your peeps just super grumpy. They're never happy unless they are eating the best food, they've got the best clothing, they are nowhere near pollution, ever. And, we can do all of that sort of stuff afterwards.
The
So yeah.
princess peep setting. Mm.
And then they all wear cute pink dresses as well because they're princess peep.
Princess peep.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, like speaking of playtesters and how invaluable that's been. Like I know that one of the most major things that comes to mind in terms of balancing was creating compost. So previously, I think I can't remember how many. So compost is generated. Well, it feed. Hang on, what's the word? It uses wood waste, the wood waste byproduct, basically. That's the input that it needs to in order to perform its job. And people were finding that you needed so much wood waste that they would be building way too many sawmills and way
Yep.
too many warehouses just to like keep this production chain going.
Mm.
But yeah, like one of the first things, well, no, sorry. Let me revise. It was not one of the first things, but it was something that MJ did was kind of come in and be like, okay, like people are struggling. Let's reduce this, right?
Yeah. Which was interesting because the fix for that was not and probably what people would expect necessarily. I made it slightly easier to produce wood waste, but I didn't really actually change the production of it that much. What I changed was how much compost you needed to compost a tile. So it was previously, I think you needed 6 compost for a single tile, which was a lot because each compost required X amount of wood waste, and then producing X amount of wood waste required X amount of processes on wood, because a single trunk can produce, I think, 4 wood waste is the balance now, and I believe it was 3, because you would get 1 wood waste from when you processed it into wood at the woodcutter, and then you would get 2 wood waste when you processed that wood into. Why did you do that?
I'm just I'm just trying to figure what is this? I don't know. I'll have to like rewatch the VOD. Maybe I was doing something
You
really
just
on stream.
decided to make a hermit. You were like, do you know what my city needs to feel complete? It needs a weird person who doesn't want to live with everyone else. They deliberately built a bridge
Oh,
and
here we
then they
go.
built
There
their
they are.
house away from everybody else.
There we
And
go.
were like, I don't like people, and I want to go. I want to go live in the woods. You know,
Amy and Kim.
you were like, that is what my city needs to feel complete. It needs hermits.
That's true. This is the emergent storytelling happening right here, right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So yeah, so each trunk that you would harvest would then be converted into a certain amount of wood, and then that wood could then be operated on to turn into planks. So there was a amount of wood waste that would be produced for every trunk that was harvested. However, the amount of compost that you needed for all those tiles meant that you did have to get just ridiculous amounts of wood processed multiple times, which also wasn't efficient for the rest of the economy because, like, yeah, you can make planks, but you don't actually want all of your wood to be turned into planks because quite a few of your buildings do just want regular wood, they don't want planks. And then wood is an input for buildings like the toolsmith, so you don't want to have to be processing all of your wood into planks just to get wood waste. So, yeah, I significantly reduced the amount of compost that you need per tile in order to finish composting it. And that fixed it, basically. It was a case of one of those things where it was a system that I hadn't had the time to actually crunch the numbers on. And then one of our playtesters, bless them, was very loudly upset about how bad this was. And I was like, you know what? That's fair. I'm going to fix this for you. And then I did. And they were very happy about it. And
yeah.
that was nice.
Player
So I
feedback.
don't mind you guys being loudly upset about the decisions that I make. I expect it.
Yeah, it's all right.
Because
MJ
sometimes,
can handle it.
yeah, I can handle it. As long as you guys can also handle me sometimes being like, I respect that you don't like this, but I'm not changing it.
Opinion disregarded.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, no, community feedback. Yeah.
Yeah,
hugely
it's
important.
invaluable. It's been so nice having regular playtesters and getting all of their thoughts on everything. Even when a lot of those thoughts are like, I don't like this, I don't understand this, this is confusing, blah 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 blah, because that's all really useful information for me. That's all stuff that I genuinely really want to know. And I would much rather people were just like, this is frustrating me, so I'm going to say that it's dumb and it sucks, because I can go, cool, you're saying it's dumb and it sucks because it frustrates you, so let's figure out why you find it frustrating so that we can make it better, because I don't want people to be frustrated and upset at the game. And so if they express that now, then I can fix it.
Yeah. No, we had a good conversation about this, you and I, the other day, about how, like, even the feedback that's just like, this sucks, you can get something useful from it.
Yeah.
Speaking of our playtesters, and you mentioned pollution as well. So, obviously, like, I feel like I naturally do this whole thing where it's like, okay, like, you put all the yucky stuff in a big, nasty corner over here, which is, we've kind of, like, seen a few playtesters do, but we had one playtester in particular who actually built like a little, used landscaping tool, which I'm building right now, to build a little island and put all the pollutive buildings there, and then kind of surround it, or maybe it was just ground previously and it was just, they just like dug a little moat around it, and that kind of like negated the pollution effects, which I thought was really, really clever.
It is really, really clever. So it's really clever because the major negative effect of pollution at the moment is that it makes your peeps unhappy, right?
Mm,
They don't like pollution. But they respond to pollution whenever they have to directly interact with it, which means that they don't like pollution when they have to walk through it, basically. So if you create these moats around polluting buildings, the peeps are never going to have to walk through the pollution because it's in the water.
mm,
And peeps don't go through the water; they go over the bridges. So it was a very smart way of making sure that their polluting buildings couldn't affect the peeps. Basically, you still got peeps with sheeps and wheelbarrows. So cute.
so classic.
Um, yeah. Um, which was a very interesting solution, and that's also one of the things that I really love about playtesters is that I love playtesters who come up with ways to cheese the game, because when somebody cheeses the game, at least my reaction as a designer is not, how dare they not play my game as I intend them to. My reaction is like, that's smart. Do I need to fix that? Or actually, is this okay? Like, a lot of the time, cheese can just be a valid but time consuming or like very micromanagey way to play the
Mm,
game. Right? Like if you are willing to put in that effort, if you want to micromanage, if you want to, very carefully position your buildings on this little island and build your entire city around the idea of these like floating polluted islands, and you want to put in the time and effort for that, then who am I to stop you, right?
mm,
Um, it's I find it really interesting trying to identify whether when people figure out ways to cheese the game, if it's actually going to break mechanics or not, because that's mostly what I care about. Is it's like, okay, is this cheese so powerful that it means that they literally don't have to care about whether they are doing nice things for their peeps because their peeps just don't get unhappy anymore? Because then that's a problem. But if it's just negating one aspect of it and then the rest of the game can continue to function as intended, I'm just like, hell yeah,
mm.
that's smart. Good for you. Well done. I'm really glad to see someone understanding the mechanics enough that they can actually engage with them on that level. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's awesome when like, especially because games like this, there's a bit of a sandboxy element to it. You know, you've got like kind of generative maps and everything. Um, yeah, and it's always really cool to see what sandcastles they make in the sandbox metaphor
Exactly.
achieved.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just quickly. So I finished building the landscaper. Where did I put it? Here it is.
You put it just next to some potato patches.
Here it is. So actually, at first, a couple questions because actually, I'm gonna go into the. I really, 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 really love the terraforming UI and the way it works. So you can kind of paint things like this and be like, okay, I want all this to be a certain level, and then you've kind of got like the colors that show where the kind of new elevation will be. So like white means it'll be level with the surroundings, red or orange is like it's lower, green is higher. And you can kind of like do things that way, and then you can go back in and you can be like, all right, no, I don't actually want those tiles part of it. And I don't know, I think like, yeah, just
You're a
doing a
woman
really
after
great
my
job.
own heart. I spent so long designing this UI.
No, it's
I'm
wonderful.
so happy to get that sort of feedback.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like I especially love even just like the feeling of like painting it. It's just, oh, here we go. This is also fun. Oh, hey, I actually didn't know you could drag like that.
Yes,
What?
that's what the handle is for.
Oh
So
my
we
god.
have that 3D handle to show you that you can grab it and
Oh, of
drag it.
course. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know why that never occurred to me. There you go.
yeah.
Fire your community manager. Gosh. How many tiles high can this actually go?
So you can. So if you look on the job board, it says height above river level.
Mhm.
So on Kiwa, you can raise your tiles 20 tiles above river level. So 20
That's
levels
pretty
up,
tall.
which is, yeah, it's pretty tall. You could make some very dramatic plinths if you wanted to. And then you are allowed to go down to 8 levels below river level as well, water level. Um, However, there is actually something interesting which people will find out as they play the game. The closer you get to the edges of the debris chunk that's sitting on Kiwa's back, you'll find areas where you can't dig down as much because
Oh,
Kiwa's back has basically just got this little divot where all of your debris and things are in. And so when you're closer to the edges, the divot comes up higher for the bits that are actually Kiwa, which means that you can't dig down as far because you're not digging into Kiwa.
that's really. Oh, yeah, I can see it even here. So
Mm.
this edge here, I can
Only
only
lets you go
go.
down to -4 because you've hit Kiwa, and you're not going to dig further down than that because we're not hurting Kiwa.
That's amazing. That's. I 100% wouldn't have known that.
Hmm.
Unless, well, I don't know, maybe I would have discovered it eventually, but
Yeah, it's. I'm interested to see people speculating about that actually.
yeah.
Because I think people will notice it and be like, "Oh, is it broken here?" But
Mm. Oh, I've stuffed up. I just realized I
yeah,
made
there you
my.
go, Ninja. There's some lore. So yeah, there's divots and there's basically just these little bowl divots on Kiwa's back where the debris that they've accumulated from traveling throughout space
Mm.
sits. Yeah.
I'm just quickly. Because I realized I was very distracted and careless in placing the landscaper, and the range of it actually doesn't extend to where I want it to go, which is
Oh
here
no.
to clear the water blockage. But that's okay, because this landscaper can focus on making the hermit hut into. Ninja recommended an island, but I think I'm just gonna give them like a really tall,
Right.
like
So are
house
you
type.
gonna like demolish the hut at the bottom and put an elevator there and then put them? Yep.
I think we're gonna do
Right at
some
the top.
relocation. Yeah.
Well, considering that that's now like 3 tiles, you can have the entryway where the elevator comes off. You can have, and then
Mm.
you can have the hut itself. If you added another one back, then you could also have like a potato patch up there.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was gonna put a potato patch there because they're like a hermit couple. I was imagining like a little like a druid and their partner, or maybe just like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and they're just like there with their little herb garden. Yeah, perfect. We're speaking the same language. Let's see, making sure I have enough resources. Pretty sure I do.
Yeah, well, that's actually something that I can chat about, Ninja. So Ninja just said I was genuinely wondering if there was an in-world reason for the plates on Kiwa's back, because outside of gameplay and aesthetics, it might as well have just been on the tummy. Very early in working on BTS, we had actually been thinking about the idea of um, the areas where you were allowed to establish your city on the whale being in kind of like random patches anywhere. So you might have been able to build a little city on the tip of a tail fin, for example, or on the tummy and other stuff like that. Um, and for a combination of reasons, we ended up deciding that we didn't want to do that. Some that I can think of off the top of my head is once we decided that we wanted this, once we decided we wanted terraforming, and that terraforming would be tied into environment management through moving water around. The idea of having these multiple spaces either meant that we needed to construct the environment slash gameplay and building tree to allow you to fairly early on probably go to places where there was no water, and if water is the reason for atmosphere, particularly on Kiwa, that complicated things quite a lot. Or we would need to put water all over in any parts where you could put your city. And the if you can you zoom out and show like Kiwa's head mountain spikes, Leah?
Yeah, I can. Here? Is this too
Yeah,
zoomed?
no, that's great. So you can see that the top of Kiwa's head is designed to look like these giant snowy mountain peaks, and that the water that you have on the first area that you're able to colonize is actually flowing out from underneath a glacier at the base of those mountain peaks. So the in-universe reason for why the water is there and why it's a safe place for your peeps to land and start colonizing and growing food and all that sort of stuff is because, similar to a comet, Kiwa's head collects ice and water and gas, which then freezes into this glacier and then melts further down their back so that you have a safe place for your peeps to land and colonize. Which then led to us being like, okay, cool. So if there's this glacier at the top of their head, then we can have the player control the flow of water down their back as their city needs to expand. Which is how we ended up deciding that your primary location was going to be on Kiwa's back specifically. So, hopefully that's an interesting answer to that question.
No, that is, for me anyway. I am... So, I'm also just a little bit distracted by this because I'm going to need a bunch of debris to build this as high as I want it to be.
True.
So, I want to make this maybe a little bit deeper because right now I've just made it a bit shallow, just one tile below river
Yep.
level. But I'm really scared that... I'm not actually sure how it works. I'm scared that if I bring it down and then press confirm, the game might think I'm ready to like let the water flow.
What, to let the water flow? No, if you
Yeah.
hit confirm, then it'll just continue the job.
All right. Ah, there we go. All right, perfect. So the way it works if you've got water is you kind of got to wait for it to finish and then you choose to let the water flow. So it's not like the water just comes out instantly. They've got a little barrier. So I'm going to dig real deep there.
So that you've got enough debris for your...
So this will be 440 debris, which is more than enough for the... How much do I need here? 288. All right. So while that's happening...
So yeah, the terraforming mechanic actually went through a lot of iterations. It initially came out of not wanting to replicate the way that mines worked in Before We Leave, of there being like these specific structures that you removed off of the surface of planets, where it's like, okay, you put your stone mine next to the ruined apartment buildings, and you put you get iron from the ruined, the ruins of the previous civilization, and not wanting to replicate that because it didn't really make sense in this context. And we absolutely could have done like, okay, cool, there's just like a lump of stone here, or there's a lump of iron here, and so on and so forth. But we had thought fairly early on that we wanted the landscape in Beyond These Stars to be a little bit more interesting, to have more variation to its levels, as part of making building on it more interesting. So we initially thought, okay, what if there's lots of resources just throughout the landscape, and whenever you dig up those resources, it actually changes the surface of the land, right? And you just have to deal with that. You have to deal with the consequences of changing the land and what that means for where you can place your buildings. And obviously we've maintained some of that because resource deposits still actually exist, and when mines mine them out, they do still actually create holes that you then need to decide what you want to do with. But over time, we kind of refined it to the point where, like, yeah, mines do that, but the actual work of like terraforming, if you want to make specific shapes and structures, was handled by another building rather than being handled by the mine from the very start, which was the initial iteration. And that also ended up tying in really well with the water and atmosphere mechanic, because now when you've finished mining out a resource deposit, you've got this very convenient little bowl which you can then flood with water to extend your atmosphere range. Or if you decide that you want to just build stuff there, you can do that too. Just take your landscaper and fill in the hole. Up to you.
Yeah, which is what I'm doing here. In
Yeah.
retrospect, it would have been nicer maybe to make it into a little lake, but then I'd have to destroy a bunch of stuff here, and
And you're like, no, I don't feel like doing that.
maybe one of these
Fair.
other ones. Yeah, like especially the ones closer to the range of the breathable atmosphere, which is this little line here. But yeah, I had one map where I basically, I don't know if it was like it looked super jank and super bad. I basically just like dug the river so that it just like formed this gigantic moat, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I've like unlocked it all. I've clocked it. I've got access to the whole plate, but then it just looked really weird, and I was like, nah,
See,
it's
that's
not
one
worth
of
it.
those things of like, okay, yeah, that's kind of cheese, but
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, if you
cheese.
want to, sure.
No, I regretted it. It wasn't worth it. At what cost? Oh, this job is complete, and this is...
Ooh,
Is this done?
it's ready.
Nearly.
Yeah. All right.
Nearly. Wait, we're nearly there. It is very funny how... So, there aren't elevators in yet. The way the landscaper jobs work is...
Yeah,
Peeps
they
can
just
kind of...
kind of.
They're just gonna happen. You
Yeah.
don't need a road to get there. These peeps are just, like, scaling the side.
Yeah, we would like to have like scaffolding visible on the sides to kind of make it make sense that the peeps can do that, but we just haven't got that in yet. And so instead they just kind of like wiggle their way up.
First major content update, OH&S compliance.
Yeah, little jetpacks, for sure. Definitely.
Oh, jetpacks would be pretty funny.
It'd be real cute.
Oh no. Peeps have taken a break 14 times in the past 10 minutes because of unhappiness.
Oh dear.
I've just been neglecting them.
Yeah, you've been too busy building your hermits, their special little plinth.
I know. I'm also worried if I get too into like the mode of playing the game while on stream, I'm just gonna start like ignoring everything around me and oh gosh, come on.
Yeah, I think you've just picked your favorites. The hermits are your favorites. You're building them this special little spot, and
I've made that the goal for this stream. So yeah, we make this like cool little castle, and the hermits graduate to wizard status, and then we'll let some water flow, and then oh gosh, it's nearly 11. No, it's nearly midday your time.
it's 11:45. Yes.
I am apparently introverted, according to like the Myers-Briggs things. Every time I take them, it's always like introversion is like maxed out. But like, I would never. I don't know. I think I'd go crazy as a hermit. I need to like see my friends and family constantly. I'm needy. Oh,
Same.
you know what? I think I'm just gonna leave it. I think I'm gonna be like, okay.
You're happy with it now?
I'm happy with it. I think it's only 18 to 19 tiles high, but let's do it anyway.
It's still pretty good.
Still pretty good. So we're building a gigantic elevator. And then I think I want the hut on the highest point, and then the potato patch can sort of be... It's like a bit of a terraced thing. Oh wait.
I think the potato patch isn't going to be able to because
I need to make it... Yeah.
It needs to be higher.
Okay, next stream. Next stream is...
Next stream. I mean, you could also just do a tiny little terraforming job to get it up to the same level.
Would I need to compost that tile as well?
You would. Okay, no, this is project for next stream. Project for next stream is finishing your little hermit
But
hut.
right now, just to like end the stream with a bang, because I love doing this every time.
Yeah.
Is confirming this job and watching the water, and I'm gonna try to like time it so that We want to get like a big old
Get a big, like, beautiful shot
view
of
of
the.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Ah!
Let's go.
There it is. Ah, amazing.
It's so
And look,
satisfying.
the game is like so happy with me. I've just
Mm.
like unlocked so much stuff.
Yeah, we're like, yay, well done, you hit the first big milestone. Here's all of the wonderful things for you.
Yeah. Oh, seeing the land heal has made all this stress worth it.
Mm.
Oh gosh, it's sort of hidden by the little like Twitch overlay that is on my end, but we haven't
Mm-mm.
really had a proper look at the tech tree. Not yet, anyway. I think I
No,
might have,
true.
although no, I reloaded after turning off the cheats. So technology, just quickly, works
Mm.
really differently in this game compared to Before We Leave, right?
Yes, it does, and it's something that I'm expecting to be quite controversial. Actually, we've had mixed responses from playtesters so far, um, but there is a reason that we decided to make the technology work this way, um, which is mostly to do with lore and narrative, actually, like world building. Which is that this game is a sequel. You know, it's a sequel to Before We Leave. So a lot of the technologies that the peeps are gaining access to are things that they already know how to build to some degree, right? Like the planet that you left behind, you already had space travel. You had all of these amazing advanced technologies. And the reason you don't have them here is because you don't have, you're not, you're stranded far away from home. You guys have to start from scratch because you have no other choice. It's not that you don't know how, it's that you don't have the resources for it because your um, mines and your smelters and all of that stuff got left behind. Um, So, with that idea that it's not knowledge that the peeps are lacking, it's resources, the technology unlocks in the technology tree are based around that idea that gaining access to a new building is about creating the necessary resources for being able to use that building. Because they know how to do it, they just don't have what they need to do it. Um, which is a bit different from quite a lot of games in this genre as well. The idea of like research as a resource that you need to go and collect and then use in order to gain access to new buildings is quite common. Um, but I thought that from a narrative perspective, this approach made a lot more sense, and it's also helped me be quite creative sometimes with the way I came up with buildings and how they fit into the economy and where they like giving people access to them as well. Um, because it's so central to the resources rather than being like, oh yeah, like people just get buildings whenever they get research and they can get whatever they want based on how much research they have of the correct types. So, yeah, it's very different. I'm expecting some people to not like it at all, but that's the direction we've gone, and I'm sticking with it.
No, I personally like. I mean, it's a different kind of like loop, right? Like, I
Mm,
feel like in Before We Leave, it encouraged more like physical exploration,
mm,
but here it's sort of more about it kind of like guides you and gives you a good idea of like the right sort of city to build that's sustainable. I
mm.
feel um like you have to have a city that like can at least produce you know metals, glass, things like that, and
Yep.
having that little
Interesting.
carrot kind of like gives you a bit of guidance. And there's like
Mm.
there's like so many other things in Beyond These Stars that do encourage exploration, um, a lot of which you won't see for a fair bit.
Yes. Yeah, you guys have no idea some of the stuff that we've got planned. I'm so excited for all of it.
Yeah.
what can I say about it that's not like massive spoilers?
Well,
Um,
Sam's sitting right next to you, so like,
exactly.
is he just like looking at you right now, like,
No, he is reading an article. I don't know what he's doing right now.
okay,
So I can say whatever I like. He's shaking his head. He heard me say that. um, so I think, like I was saying, I think it's a real shame for people to play a game in space and not get to enjoy being in space. So please look forward to being in space. I've done a lot of cool stuff for space, and space matters, and being in space matters, and where you are in space matters. So you guys are going to get to enjoy all of that. Um, we've done a lot of work on this idea of like the environment, and the environment being something that reacts and responds. And yeah, it reacts and responds to you, but space is a big place. There's lots of stuff out there. So it's going to react and respond to other things, and you are going to have to respond to that because it's not just you and the environment, it's everything else around it as well that changes how stuff happens and will create different challenges. Um, and your peeps are also going to have a bit more depth than they did in Before We Leave. We wanted them to have a bit more personality than they did in the first game. So there's going to be a couple of new things that peeps do, and behaviors that they'll have, which will hopefully also create some really cool situations. And then all of this cool stuff will come together to hopefully create just a really cool game. That's the aim.
you heard it here, folks. It's gonna be a really cool game, and that's on God. That's no cap.
Ideally.
Oh, and just in time for us to wrap up, I've composted this tile.
And you can
Potato
you can put the
patch.
potato patch. Let's go.
It's happening.
Beautiful.
And then the moment that's complete, we'll wrap it up because it is nearly midday New Zealand time. And I'm not sure what time it would be. I think midnight in Central Europe.
Right.
And
Wow.
I can't do US time zone conversion. I'm sorry. But yeah, there we go. Yay! We did it.
Yay, there it goes, the hermits. They have a potato patch now. Beautiful.
Look at them just lording over all.
Thank you for
Lots.
popping in, Katerinox. And thank you for being sent by Nina. That's very
Hello.
cute.
All right. Actually, I don't need to quit this. I can just do this and then that. Yeah. So, everyone, thank you so much for coming today. We'll upload the VOD, obviously, if there's anything you want to go back and look at. Next streams on the 7th of June. Oh, one thing though to keep in mind is we have had to unfortunately cancel. Oh my gosh, where's my Twitch thing? Oh, I'm frozen. I'm frozen.
Oh
Why am I
no.
frozen? Anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is that, yeah, so we've had to postpone this stream on the 21st or the 20th of June. We'll probably do it the week after, but it's for a good reason. A few of us, well, mostly Sam, need a bit of a break. So, yeah, then we'll come back after that. And because I really want Sam to be there for this particular stream, because it's going to be a very special one. Wink, wink. Um, but yeah, thank you again, everyone. I apologize for this weird frozen situation, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. And also see you around on Discord. And everyone
Yes.
say thank you, MJ, for coming along and for being
Thank you for having
awesome
me.
and for making a cool
And
game.
and feel free to ping me if you want to ask questions on the Discord as well. I am around, and I will check. And yeah, I mean, I love talking about this stuff with you guys. It's really fun seeing people excited about something that I've been working on for 2.5 years now. Um, and I would love to discuss it with you.
Yeah. All right, everyone. See you around.
Thank you guys.
Bye bye.
See you next time. Bye.